What up? This is Myron, and you are listening or watching the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, the Down on the Docks on the other side of the tracks, dive bar style podcast, Evan, about the Seattle Mariners. That you are listening and getting this podcast, hey, wherever you're getting it. We're not going to judge you as long as you're liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. And of course, giving us those reviews. Look, we love 5-tool baseball players on this podcast. Why not? But you know what we love more than that? 5-star review. So hit us up with that 5-star review. And if you're not subscribed and following us on YouTube, now is your chance. Get in on the bottom floor. Anyways, this is our Jorge Polanco episode. We're going to call it the Polanco Party. With me up in Edmonds is Hannah in Edmonds. I love the chair. What is up with this chair? It's a nice little denim chair you got right there. You look like the king.
Yeah, it's nice.
The king of Edmonds, nice and relaxed. You look nice and relaxed now that we got probably an everyday second baseman up there. Over here in the stat department tonight, off camera, we have the Ninja. What's going on, Ninja?
Oh, what's up?
What's up? So let's get right to it. As we all know, if you're a Mariners fan, if you've just not been giving a fuck, look, we'll catch you up really quick. The Mariners have pulled off probably the biggest trade, arguably the biggest trade this off season. I guess we could look at the Robbie Ray for Haniger was a big headline grabber, but as far as Mariners adding to their offense, they have gotten Jorge Polanco, second baseman. Has been in the league for 10 seasons, was all-star in 2019, has had some injury issues here and there, but overall a solid second baseman. The Mariners, it seems like, haven't had a second baseman with some power, at least since Robinson Cano. What is your initial reaction or feeling right now before we start this conversation? Maybe it'll change later at the end of the Polanco Party. How you feeling about it, Hannah?
Yeah, it was a nice little pickup for the Mariners here late in the offseason to, get another quality player. Let's hope he stays healthy, like you mentioned.
Yeah, that's the big thing to me when I look up Polanco and I go through, just pulling this up here on what is Baseball Reference. You go back through games played appearances. You seen what he did in 19, but that's a while ago. That's a while ago. But you see what he can do when he gets 700 plate appearances. I mean, this guy, 22 home runs, 79 RBIs that season. As well as an OPS of 841. But in 2021, he was not an all-star, but I would say that's probably, it looks like maybe his most productive year has got to be in 2021, at least from the power side. 33 home runs. It's only a few years ago, 98 RBIs, OPS 826. But then around that, we're looking, let's just go backwards. Last year, only 80 games. 2022, 104. The year I mentioned right there, 2021, 152 games. Shortened season in 20 from COVID, but 153 in 2019. So again, Mariners have landed themselves another player that, if they can stay healthy, like you said, gonna make an impact. But that's a big if.
Yeah, sure is. I mean, with him and, like you mentioned, picking up Haniger, it's going to take this ball club to have like 5-6 guys to have career years and hopefully no injuries to even sniff the AL West.
Yeah, I mean, just to be kind of like concerned, the thing that concerns me before we get to Ninja over there is you look at what we traded away or didn't bring back. And I'm talking about Teo, and I'm talking about Eugenio. Eugenio played in every single game last year. Teo up in the 150s as well. Those guys play all the time. You've replaced that in the lineup as big pillars of your lineup. Yeah, with Haniger, with Garver, with Polanco. What do all these guys have in common? They they don't play that many games. They don't have a consistent record of doing that consistently. And that's scary to me. That's the part that scares me.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, if they're not available, it's going to be a long season.
Right. Well, let's just try to keep this Polanco party going. I do have to say, overall, I'm happy to see us grab somebody. The thing that kind of always bugs me when you listen to Hollander, Dipoto, and these guys, like, hey, this guy's been on our radar for years. You know, we were going back to, whatever, 2020, 2019. You're like, well, I'm just tired of always hearing these guys were on our radar for years. So let's get them right now after they're coming off of injury years and kind of downswings in their career. It's always interesting to hear that. Frustrating.
Oh, yeah. It's you're exactly right. Another one, too, is they've been working out with Julio. So that's, the kind of the go-to ones. Of course they have been. They said that about Teo last year. Oh, he works out with Julio, and now they've talked about it here with Polanco. So I'm glad they're friends with Julio. That's important.
that's how you win ball games. Listen, I guess since we are going to keep it right here in the Polanco party, let's keep it a little bit of in the naysay before we get to some of the plus stuff. We're going to do this backwards now that we started off this way. Ninja, you are not into this trade. You were telling me all afternoon.
Well, I'm glad we did something. Let's just start off with that. I'm here looking at the Josh Rojas page, and it's definitely an upgrade. But I'm just saying there's other second basemen out there that we could have maybe targeted and got more value for. But in the end, this is their guy. There just seems to be a lot of positive sentiment coming out of Minnesota. People like this guy. There's people are saying that Mariners got a really good deal. There's just a few other guys that I mentioned that, Jonathan India, I think he would have been a better guy. Brandon Drury, he would have been a better guy. Like, kid out of Oakland, I think we might have been able to get him. There's some other infielders that, Jorge Polanco was honestly not even on my radar. He's a little bit older.
Well, we did an episode where, and you can find this on our YouTube page, of you saying that the Minnesota Twins would be the worst trading partners for the Mariners. So you're backing up that right here.
Yeah, I'm glad we did something, but there's other second basemen I would have targeted for the price we paid.
So you're saying that we paid too much because, for one. Number two, though, when you're saying, hey, you want some of these other second basemen that you name, just going off of the Bleacher Report that they put out a month or so ago, and I would assume it's still the same because it's going off of last year. You're talking about Brandon Drury, but he's also a Anaheim Angel, so that just wasn't going to happen. Zach Galinoff on the A's, Gleyber Torres, Jonathan India. I get it. I hear you, but I also feel like those are guys that are going to command a Wu, a Miller, a Logan. I think those were the asking prices for players like that. But you're saying you still feel like the Mariners giving up Topa, Gabby Gonzalez, who's number 79 in the top 100, is too much.
Well, hindsight's always going to be 20/20 when we look back. I got to make a prediction now. I'd say, yeah, we gave up too much, and we become the losers in the long run on this trade.
Anno?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go. I don't know that much about the youngsters. Just that he's, like you mentioned, 79. Some people I've read said that maybe was too high. It's hard to say. But like we talked about, I'm just glad the Mariners made a move. It definitely improves the club. And, yeah, we'll see what happens.
And, as far as you were telling me the other night when this first happened, you were kind of hearing what some of the Twins people were saying about it. I did hear the take that you haven't heard the take on Foul Territory by AJ Pertinsky. He was not a fan of this for what the Twins are doing. Obviously, if you're a Twins fan, this is going to pull out your heartstrings. He's been there for a decade. He's made 4 playoff appearances with your team. Not a lot of wins there, but I mean, I get it if you're a Minnesota Twins fan where you're like, they feel like just like the Mariners, where hey, if you just add somebody on here, we're already division champions. We should be adding on to our team, adding on to our lineup. And they're kind of in that same situation where I believe they have a TV deal situation going on. And they were like one of the only teams, as far as I can hear, that were wanting to trade for prospects with the Mariners versus ready for the major leagues right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Twins feel that way, or some of their fans, because what I've read and heard is, they just didn't have room for him. They had that rookie Julian that played second base for him last year. I know Mariner fans might remember him playing against the Mariners. Hit really well, hit a couple bombs, looked really good. So to me, it makes sense. I think the big point for me, and the overlooking factor is where you mentioned we didn't have to give up a Wu or a Miller to acquire this. We still have those type of guys, and that's important in my opinion.
Yeah. To quote AJ Przinsky, he said, quote, "The Twins could take this division easily if they just spent a little bit of money." But again, to your what you were saying, yeah, it seems like there are, when I'm pulling up Twins Twitter, there are people thinking like, hey, they got a nice little haul here out of the Mariners. And let's not forget, you know, Topa, if he stays healthy throughout the year, how impactful he can be in the back end of the bullpen. Ninja, what'd you got to say?
Oh, I'm just looking at the fan graphs, and they got Jorge Polanco as our number 3 hitter. So
yeah, we'll get to the line. Yeah, as far as the rankings you were bringing up here, rankings by Bleacher Report, which means absolutely nothing. But they have Jorge Polanco ranked as the 21st best second baseman, and this must be going off of last year. And when I scroll down here, because the article is the top 25, they had Jose Caballero at 25. So as far as what you're saying that we could have got much more, is you're saying we've only moved up a bit at the second baseman position.
yeah, we've just, I think, added some risk, some older, slower guy kind of risk. Older, he just hasn't got that 600 plate appearances. If he does, it's gonna be awesome. But if subpar defense, I've kind of heard, it's not his strong point. He's a good contact hitter. He still strikes out a little bit less than Gino, but you know what? He had
a lot less than Gino.
Well, he's going to get 150 strikeouts versus 200 strikeouts. He's going to get 160 strikeouts if he plays the whole season, if he gets 600 plate appearances. So we had 300 plate appearances.
Okay. I guess you're right. I guess he strikes out 2/3 of the time that Gino does.
He's no Arise, who struck out 34 times last
year.
Well,
there's only one Arise in this whole league. So
that's who we should have traded for.
Sure.
Yep. Him and Mookie Betts.
Well, as far as his defense, like we should have just gave Ohtani $750 million too. As far as his defense, yeah, I heard it's not that great. He's played a lot of games at third base or shortstop. I mean, he's played over 500 games at shortstop. I believe 24 games at third base. Primarily was a second baseman when Correa came over there. But look, just like the Mariners can find pitchers seemingly out of nowhere and turn them into great bullpen pitchers, we've seen Perry Hill do modern miracles with a lot of players. What do you think Perry Hill's impact could have on Polanco, Hanno?
I think Perry Hill's great with the fundamentals of the game, the transfers, getting your feet set, but you can't really teach foot speed, and that's kind of what I've heard about him. He just doesn't have the foot speed that you would hope, and doesn't have the range, but that's something that hopefully he can make a modern little miracle, so we'll see. It's just hard to say. I haven't seen him enough and watched him enough, but that's just what I've heard. Then I actually heard an interview saying that if they're going to rank the um, up the middle combination in the American League, they would rank Seattle's towards the bottom with JP and him, just because of the foot speed. So we'll see. I mean, we need offense. That's what he's kind of known for. So hopefully that carries him more than kind of what I had heard about his defense. He just got to make the routine play, you know?
Yeah, that's that's all we can ask, especially with guys that aren't 23, 24 years old on leagues. This guy's coming off of some soft tissue injuries and things like that. As far as the offense, yes, I'm happy for this ad of the offense. Even if he plays 130 games and can get you 20 home runs and 80 RBIs, that's going to be great. As far as, the ball being on the ground in the infield, look at the guys that are on the mound. We do have guys that can get the strikeouts. So maybe that's a big deal. I know later in the game, that's when you're probably looking on somebody to roll over, but the Mariners just seem like they're just power strikeout pitchers. So maybe somebody without this great, huge range does not maybe impact negatively like maybe it will on another team.
Yeah, exactly. And with the shift going away, you're just hoping for him to be able to cover more ground. But, that's what people said. We'll see. Like you mentioned, he's had some injuries. Hopefully that's just, more of the injury bug and stuff like that. But yeah, like you just got to make the routine play. And hopefully, I mean, the Mariners just need to be able to turn those key double plays in those key situations. I mean, that goes for any major league club.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
Well, what kind of stats are you looking up that are
just Polanco? He's going to be the best hitter on our team according to Fangraphs. I mean, besides Julio's going to hit number 2, but you put Polanco on your number 3 spot and Garver. It's just kind of weird how they rank these guys, and they're saying that Mitch Haniger's going to hit 8th and not have a really good season. Yeah, you know what I mean. So what do you believe on these projections?
Well, the projections are just projections. But if we are going off of which one do you want to pull up here? Fangraphs. Let's just see. Mariners potential lineup or prospective lineup.
They got Rojas hitting 9th, playing 3rd base.
Okay, hold on. Well, okay, we just pull up. If you want to pull up these, we'll look at two different ones. I'm going to pull up RotoChamp and I'll pull up Fangraphs. In RotoChamp, we got JP Crawford, Julio, like you said, Polanco, Garver, Raleigh, Ty France, Luke Rayleigh, Mitch Haniger, at 8th, and Rojas at 9th, and I believe they have the same over on Fangraphs. As far, I'm going to go with the RotoChamp as far as projections. As far as Polanco, 493 at bats, I'd take that. I'd honestly take that. 70 run, 21 home runs, 72 RBIs, OPS about 763. I'd honestly sign somewhere to take that. If this guy could give you 500 at bats, given his history, I would take that. What about that? What about you, Hanno?
Oh, of course. One thing we've bashed the ownership as they should be, but we got to, at least I got to give a little props to Jerry. He's kind of turned over the roster and hasn't given up a big, main cog down in the farm or, one of our young pitchers. And they've totally turned it over and then also cut salary which ownership wanted, and it's a respectable job. So I got to commend them for that.
Yeah, I mean, from what 2 months ago when we were kind of finding out, hey, we don't even have 20 million. We had to make 20 million or whatever it is to looking at a lineup that we just lost Teo, we just lost Eugenio. We trade away one of our
Ray, Kelnick, I mean, just so many
Elnick. Yeah.
guys.
Oh, I forgot about the
Tom
whole
Murphy.
Tom
You
Murphy. Yeah, and now you're looking at a lineup that Crawford, Rodriguez, Polanco, Garvo, Raleigh, JP, Julio, Polanco, Mitch Garver, Cal Raleigh, Ty France, Luke Raley, Mitch Haniger, and Rojas. You can argue that this lineup is slightly better than last year or a bit better than last year. But again, I think you look at games played, how many players were habitually injured that we traded. Tom Murphy definitely was, or traded or didn't sign, I should say. Tom Murphy was injured. Kelnick missed a lot of last season from his self-inflicted wound. But again, Gino and Teo played all the time, and you're looking at guys, 4 other guys that we've added that don't have the track record of playing all the time. So that's the big concern. That's the number one concern right there.
Yeah, health, it all comes down to that. If everybody's healthy, we've talked about before, the bench, it seems a little deeper now. Guys are kind of slotted into where I feel that they should be. And so it's going to come down to health, no doubt, with Haniger, Garver, and Polanco as the guys that you brought back in return for players. So yeah, hopefully they have one of these great magical years and stay healthy.
Yeah, again, they're betting again on potential. If they can reach their potential, again, we're looking all right. But again, it's the whole potential thing. We still don't have that second star to go along, the twin tower to go along with Julio. Maybe that happens mid-season. Obviously this just looks like, to me, it feels obvious that this is pretty much your starting lineup that you're going to be rolling out there for 2024 for at least the start.
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned earlier with AJ Pierzynski talking about the Twins, I mean, you could say that very easily about the Mariners. I mean, it's really a shame that they couldn't add one more big time player and spend some money. I mean, as a core and kind of how they've changed up things, it's not bad, but it's also not that good either to compete with the teams you're chasing.
No, but on the positive side, some of our role players that we've had, the Haggertys, Dylan Moore, now with these acquisitions that we've made, you're kind of looking at like Dylan Moore is your 26 man, right? And Haggerty would be your guy, barring an injury or something like that. I'm looking out on Fangraphs and stuff. They still have Taylor Trammell above Canzone. No, Canzone. You don't have Canzone on any, which that's what I mean. These things, I feel like Canzone's has a lot more promise and upside right now in his career than Taylor Trammell does. But we got to see what Zebi Zavala is going to be like, and if Luis Arias, is that how I say his name?
No,
that was it.
That's the good guy.
Which Arias, right?
Yeah.
Well, and if Luis Arias can return to what he was showing earlier on in his career, then that's a whole nother thing. But as far as the lineup, it does feel a bit longer. I mean, we're not looking at a Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty in the same lineup. One of them is your DH.
Oh yeah, it's much. We didn't have a DH last year. Sure, we had Mike Ford who hit you a few, but at least now Garver he'll give you more base hits for sure than just the big bomb like Ford gave you.
Yeah, and I think that you're probably going to see Jorge Polanco in that DH spot, which I'm fine with as long as he's hitting, and I'm fine with if that keeps him healthy all year.
Yeah, I would think Haniger would play more DH than him. Don't you think?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this lineup though that we have, still have a yes we have a traditional DH in there with Garver, but we still have somebody like Polanco, Haniger, and I would say, even Cal Raleigh once in a while, rotating in there through DH.
Yeah, they have a lot more options this year to, as we know, the Mariners like to play the righty-lefty matchup and the numbers and play it pretty much down the line, so they'll have some options to give guys days off and switch them around in the lineup and play different positions.
I mean, at one point, didn't we have Estrella, or what was his name? Tommy La Stella at DH in a game. I'd have to go back through the
for the first week that he was here. Yeah,
God,
they had to. Jerry was really pumping him up early on in the season, and then he stunk.
Yeah, paid $8 million for him.
Yeah, well, 2023 was a sack of shit. We also have an episode coming out here pretty soon that we put a little time into called the 23 worst losses in 23, just so we can flush 23 down the toilet and move on. But as far as Polanco, I think as far as getting him right now, given the circumstances that the Mariners were in, it's a good move. The concerning factor, like we've talked about, is the injuries. A concern that Polanco has no control over is the state of the bullpen after, you let Swanson go last year for Teo. Teo's not here anymore. You trade away Seawald in the middle of the season, and you trade Topa right here. Bullpen still is a big question mark, but it seems like every year the bullpen is a big question mark, and the Mariners just seem to figure it out. So I do want to give them organization and the coaching and the acquisitions they get the benefit of the doubt, because until they've proven us wrong, we kind of got to roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, they do have their little pitching lab where they're able to resurrect guys and change things and tell them to throw it here at this count, and they really dissect it. But for me, it's going to be really interesting to see how Munoz and Brash are able to take that next step forward, because we saw what happened when they got rid of Seawald, and they're getting their feet wet, and there were some stressful times, but that's the position they're going to be in. And with losing Topa, your third guy, everybody just kind of moves up the ladder. And then with these 7 guys or so that we signed in the offseason here, they're going to have plenty of choices to plug and play and put in the bullpen.
I have a little project.
Well, once again, Edgar Martinez is using Eagle Hardware's incredible selection of brand name power tools for its latest project. And here's a surprise. For once, it's not a bat. Oh, it is a bat.
It's a light bat.
Eagle Hardware and Garden. More of everything.
But one thing about Polanco, though, that we can't ignore is he's got himself in trouble before, but not in a very long time. But it's at least worth mentioning that in 2018, he was popped with a 80-day suspension, decided not to appeal it. In fact, his quote was at the time, "Today I have regretfully accepted my," and that this is from May 18th, 2018. He goes, "Today I regretfully accept my 80-game suspension for testing positive for stanozolol." Is that what it's called? Stanozolol? Stanozolol? I don't know. Sounds Sounds like something you just can't get over the counter. That's for sure. To be clear, I did not intentionally consume this steroid. I now know, however, that my intention alone is not a good enough excuse, and I will pay the price for my error in judgment. Substance I requested from my athletic trainer in the Dominican Republic and consented to take was a combination of vitamin B12 and an iron supplement, something that is not usual or illegal for professional athletes to take. Unfortunately, what I was given was not that supplement, and I take full responsibility for what was in my body. Every bone in my body wants to appeal the suspension, but out of respect for Derek Favley, Thad Levine, Paul Molitor, my coaches, my teammates, and the entire Twins organization, I've decided to withdraw my request to appeal and will begin serving my suspension immediately. My hope is that through this extremely disappointing situation, other players will learn from my mistake. Look, had a shortened 2018 season, but bounced back in 2019 big time and clean. And, it seems like his pocket of really good play has been 19, 20, and 21. So this was probably something whether he knew this or he didn't need it.
Yeah, and you mentioned it happened in 18, like you mentioned. He didn't have a massive drop off after the fact. His big drop off was just not staying healthy.
Yeah, in fact, he took off. But the last couple of years, it's been these little nagging leg injuries that we're concerned about. The one thing I do want to point out is his contract that they got it's not a bad contract. It's $10 million this year. I believe there is a $12 million club option. So he's making 10.5 this year. So let's just say he balls out this year and we end up, finally hitting on one of these trades, which where the Mariners are due for one to really, really pan out. Let's just say he pans out. You got him next year for $12 million.
Yeah, that's encouraging. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's in the budget for the old Mariners, that's for sure. Kind of works in what they want to do. Like you said, he plays other positions. The Mariners signed a guy from KC that plays in the infield and outfield. They got Bliss down on the farm, so they have some options.
Yeah, you're right. When you make that point, this could be a really smart bridge to whatever we have coming right now. And effective. I mean, you go back and you look at Wong, even in Wong's best power year, and you take Polanco's injury plague seasons, Polanco's got way more power.
Oh, for sure.
This guy barrels the ball up a lot. One of these guys that makes those hard, productive outs.
Yeah, I was saying it can get confusing because we have two Georges on the team.
George Kirby and Polanco.
Two Jorges, however you want to look at it.
We'll try to help you out.
They're spelled different.
Yeah, they pronounce George a little bit different, but yes, we got two Georges or two Jorges. One's a pitcher, one's in the lineup. Just remember that. Another thing, he's worn only one number in the major leagues, and that's number 11. Probably not going to happen here in Seattle.
Yeah, I'd take that bet.
Yeah, I wonder what his number is going to be. We'll have to do some research on what number he's going to. Do you think it's going to be a normal number, or do you think he's going to get just like when some players can't get their typical numbers, they'll just get crazy and be like, give me 74.
69.
No, he'll be like, I don't know, 21, 22, something like that. I'm thinking, just trying to think of how a player thinks. They want to keep that one still in there, or they like the double numbers. So I think 21 and 22 are available.
Yeah, or maybe he could be just like, I want 3 numbers. Just give me 3, 111. Other good reports about him around the league is that he is a team leader and a great clubhouse guy. So, and I think that's a good move. And I'll tell you my favorite thing about this trade. is we traded that guy's name I butchered all the time. What is it? D. Scalcini, or what was his name?
Scalcini.
D. Scalcini. Listen, here's my theory about why we traded him. Not only did we trade him because what was he making this year? Like a good amount of money. 12 million. Mariners couldn't afford that for somebody that's going to be a depth pick. They also were probably too cheap. Didn't want to put that many letters on a goddamn jersey. So,
oh God, could you imagine how terrible the back of his jersey would look with the way the fonts of the Mariners jerseys? Oh my God, who does those?
Aren't they switching the font, Hannah?
Yeah, hopefully.
So after this Polanco party, I think we've warmed up the pool here at the Polanco party than when we started.
Go get some Polancoritas.
Yeah, are you starting to feel better, Ninja, about the Polanco trade after hearing all?
After looking at, Josh Rojas stats, I started feeling better.
There you go. Yeah, if you start to feel weird about this trade, go look at what we were going to put at second base and what we were going to do at second base. You'll probably start to feel better.
That's what the Rye Bread and Mustard podcast does for you. It makes you feel better.
Well, sometimes it makes you feel better. And
Polancaroni pizza night.
Polancaroni pizza night. I like it. Jorge Hot Pocket night. There you go.
The special nights they could have in store for us. The mobile park, the polo pullover.
The polo pullover. Let's just, if we're just ending here on the positives, here's what we got. Hopefully a guy who's going to be holding down second base all year long, hopefully getting 500 at bats. If he gets 500 at bats, this is going to be a really good move. You also still have a Wu, a Miller, and a Logan on your team. At this point going into spring training, we probably thought one of them would have been gone. They're not. And this move definitely fills in a big hole in the lineup.
Yeah, maybe you have a little, veteran presence in the clubhouse with Julio now too.
That's what we were mentioning. Yeah. So, welcome to the conversation.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard the Rye Bread and Mustard. All right. Well, that has been our Jorge Polanco party. We know it started off a little skeptic. Sometimes we got to just, it's really the bad taste that the Mariners organization leaves in your mouth. And then, you got to calm down. That's why we're the Dive Bar. You got to sip on that drink. You got to settle on down and relax and, do a little bit of analyzation. Hey, listen, he's going to have the best infield guru.
Yeah, hopefully they're not like...
Now you're getting peaches and cream, like.
Yeah, and listen, we got an offensive coordinator. I
don't think Durs and I have changed our attitudes that much, but you're getting a little peaches and creamy on it.
All right, well,
hopefully we're not, later on, I'm going to go take a Polanco.
Yeah, all right. With that being said, thanks for liking, subscribing. Listen, we love those 5-tool baseball players right here on the Rye Bread and Mustard Mariners podcast. But you know what we like more than that, Hannah?
Tell me.
I already forgot. Oh, no. It's those 5-star reviews. Hit us with that 5-star review. And if you haven't subscribed, do it. What the fuck are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. With that being said, Hannah, you know what time it is.